Hey friends, happy Monday and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I share these What's for Dinner videos every Monday to hopefully motivate you to cook more for your family and give you some new meal ideas. Any recipes that I mention are always linked in the description box, so you guys can go get the full recipes to make it easier for you. And if you like these kinds of videos, I hope that you will subscribe down below. I share these every Monday, and then the grocery haul videos every Wednesday to show you like what I bought to make the meals. So make sure you're subscribed, but let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night we tried a new recipe for a easy one-pot queso chicken and rice. So I am starting off by heating up some olive oil in my really large skillet, and then once that was hot, I added in my chicken breast along with my seasoning. I did a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of black pepper, and then I just cooked that up until the chicken was done. Once it was done, I added in 1 can of Rotel, and then I did 2 1/4 cups of water and then some Knorr chicken bouillon to turn that into chicken broth. And then the recipe said you could add some other things that were optional, like black beans, so I did add a can of drained and rinsed black beans. And then I also did some nacho cheese. It calls for a 15-ounce can of nacho cheese sauce, but I had some nacho cheese in my freezer in a quart-sized bag that I think is about equal to that much, so I added that in. Gave everything a good stir, and then brought this to a boil. Once it came to a boil, I added in 1.5 cups of long grain white rice, and then I covered this with a lid and turned the heat down to a medium low and let this cook for like 25 minutes until most of the liquid was absorbed and the rice was tender. And then I just served this up with some chips on the side. I wish I had some cilantro because I feel like cilantro would be really good on this. I feel like this would also be really good like rolled up in a tortilla as a burrito. We really enjoyed it. It was great and quick and easy. Saturday night we did leftover chili because, as you know, on Halloween I made a big crock pot full of chili. So we had leftovers this night, and then I froze the rest of the chili. Andy and the kids chose to eat the chili on top of some spaghetti noodles, like chili mac at Steak and Shake, and I chose to just eat chili the regular way, just a bowl full of chili with some saltines and cheese on top. Sunday night I tried another new recipe. This is for an Instant Pot broccoli, cheese, chicken, and rice. So I've got my Instant Pot on the saute function, and once it was hot, I added in some oil and let that get hot, and then I'm adding in some boneless, skinless chicken breast that I chopped up, and then 1 onion that I diced. And then I am seasoning this with some other stuff that the recipe didn't call for. I did salt and pepper, of course, and then I did some garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika, and I just let that cook up until the chicken was no longer like pink on the outside. It just needs to be white. It doesn't have to be all the way cooked through, and let the onions soften a little bit. And then I added in a couple cloves of minced garlic. I was using the jarred stuff. I let that cook for about a minute, and then I went in with some Worcestershire sauce and then water that I'm going to add some Knorr chicken bouillon to turn it into chicken broth, and gave that a good stir. Make sure to like scrape up any bits from the bottom of the Instant Pot if you had anything stick. The water and the Worcestershire sauce can kind of help deglaze the pan if you add them in a little bit at a time, but I didn't really have anything like cooked onto the bottom of the Instant Pot, so I didn't really need to do that. And then I am adding in my rice. I did 1.5 cups of rice, and once you add that in, you don't want to stir it anymore. You just want to press it down into the liquid to make sure it's covered. And then also you're going to add in 1 package of ranch seasoning mix, and again, don't stir it. I don't know why they didn't add the ranch like earlier. I feel like you could have added the ranch like with the other seasonings and it would have been fine, but once you add the rice, you don't want to stir it anymore. I was just following what the recipe said, but I definitely think you could have added the ranch seasoning earlier. And then we cook this on manual high pressure for 5 minutes. We let it do a natural release for 10 minutes. So while that was cooking, I also stirred together half a cup of milk with 2 tablespoons of flour. This is kind of going to thicken up whatever remaining liquid there is and make it creamy. So after letting the rice do a natural release for 10 minutes, then I removed any remaining pressure, and then I took off the lid and stirred in that milk mixture along with some shredded cheese. And then I added in a bag of steamed broccoli. It says frozen broccoli, and then that it will like kind of warm up in the hot rice, but I chose to steam it in the microwave while the rice was cooking and then add in the steamed broccoli because I feel like it wouldn't be tender enough doing it the way the recipe called for. I don't think my family would have enjoyed it that way, but we did really enjoy it the way that I made it with the few adjustments, and I would definitely make this again. Monday night we had this taco hash brown like crock pot casserole thing that I've made quite a few times now. I started off by browning up some ground beef with onion. This is actually like 2.5 pounds of ground beef. Lately what I've been doing is when I buy all the ground beef, when it comes time to make the first recipe of the week with the ground beef, as long as it's not like hamburgers or something, I go ahead and just cook it all like with very generic stuff like garlic, onion, salt, pepper, and then like actual diced onion, and then I save the other half of it for another recipe. So as I said, this is 2.5 pounds. I only used half of it in this, and it's been making things a lot easier for me. So while the ground beef was cooking, I started getting everything else in the crock pot. You're going to need 1 bag of frozen hash browns, 1 can of Rotel, half a cup of sour cream, some minced garlic. I like to start mixing the stuff together beforehand because it's kind of hard to mix it all together if you have everything in there at the same time. Like it's really hard to start mixing it all together once it's all shoved in there. So this gives you a little bit of room. Mix it together, add something else. So I mixed it a little bit, added some shredded cheese, mixed that in, added in some taco seasoning, and then I'm going to add in some like liquid cheese and ground beef. The recipe calls for a can of like nacho cheese soup. I've never used that in this recipe, I don't think. I usually use like the nacho cheese that I used in the queso rice, but I was out of nacho cheese. I was going to use salsa con queso in this. I think I've done that before, but Aldi was out, so I ended up just using some cheese dip from the refrigerated section. I heated it up in the microwave so it'd be easy to mix in, and then I put a lid on this, and this cooks on low, I think, for 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, or high for like 2. It doesn't take very long, and that's part of the reason I like this recipe so much, because it's one of those crockpot recipes that you can start later in the day, even if you like forgot about dinner or you were like busy in the morning. This one is perfect for those days. We had been grocery shopping earlier in the day, so I could come home and prep it and it still be done in time for dinner in the crockpot. Tuesday, we made some pizza sliders. I had Lily helping me make dinner this night. So I like to use these brioche rolls from Aldi. You do have to cut them in half horizontally yourself, but it's pretty simple. Just use a big, large knife. And then we are spreading some marinara sauce over them, just a like nice thin layer. And then we're going to top it with our meat. We did some salami and pepperoni, and then we're going to top with some sliced mozzarella. And then you put the top of the buns back on here. And then we like to brush on like a butter mixture. Lily mixed together some melted butter, some garlic salt with parsley, and some Parmesan cheese, and brush that all over the top of these rolls or sandwiches, sliders, whatever you want to call them. We probably did a little bit too much butter. They were pretty buttery, but it was very delicious. Once they were all brushed with butter, then I covered these with foil and baked them in the oven on 375 for 30 minutes. We love sliders, all different kinds of sliders. Chicken parm sliders, ham and cheese sliders, hot Italian sliders. These pizza sliders were no different. We loved them. And I served them with salad on the side for those of us that like salad, which is everybody except for Lily. She'll just eat some fresh veggies on the side. Like, she likes everything but lettuce and dressing. Wednesday was a rough day. I was really glad that I had that ground beef like already cooked and ready to go. I honestly didn't do much of anything this day but mope around the house because I was upset and sad about the election results. And if you want to come in my comments and say that you are happy with the election results, don't do that because I will block you. Do not come to my corner of the internet and say things like that because I will block you. You can be happy all you want, but don't bring it here because that's not what I'm going to tolerate here. I am very upset and scared about the future of this country, and I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't like to talk about that stuff very much because it makes me emotional. So we're going to get back into this night's dinner. As I said, very happy about having dinner kind of prepped. All I had to do was like heat up the ground beef, and then I'm making this like cheeseburger pasta, this like hamburger helper. The exact measurements will be down below. Once the meat was heated up, I added in some broth and milk, ketchup, mustard, a splash of pickle juice, some more seasonings like salt and pepper, and garlic powder and onion powder. The meat was already seasoned some, but I felt like it needed more. I brought the water to a boil, and then once it was boiling, I added in some elbow pasta, turned down the heat, let it simmer for like 15 minutes until the elbow noodles were done, and then you can stir in some cheese. And then we always serve this with like buttered bread on the side. Make sure you check it for seasonings again. I think I added more salt and pepper at the end. This is very like nostalgic. It's like hamburger helper but homemade, so you know what's in it. And as a kid, we always had buttered bread on the side of hamburger helper, so that's what we had this night. I wanted to do a can of corn, but I just wasn't feeling it this day. Thursday we had pork fried rice. So I don't think I've ever made fried rice with ground pork in it, but I really just made this the way that I make regular fried rice. But I started with cooking up the ground pork with a little bit of seasoning. I cooked it in some sesame oil with salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and then I just made my fried rice the way I always make my fried rice, which will be linked down below. This was good. I saw it on Pinterest. I think I was looking for ways to use the ground pork that I have that was different than what I usually do. And usually when I do like pork fried rice, I use like pork chop and like cut it up into bite-sized pieces. But this was good and different, and we liked it. But that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below if you plan on trying any of these recipes. Also, let me know down below, have you guys started decorating for Christmas? We are early Christmas decorators here. We have started pulling everything out and getting decorated. It makes me happy to look at a Christmas tree and the lights and see our stuff in the front yard. So that is why we do it early. Some people will say we're skipping Thanksgiving, but we're not skipping Thanksgiving. Just Thanksgiving decorations are boring, and we have just a few that we will pull out, but overall, the winter stuff and Christmas stuff makes me happier. So let me know your thoughts on that, and I hope y'all have a good week, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!